The rain hammered the orphanage roof like fists on a coffin lid. Each drop a reminder that some wounds never heal, they just scar over. Jordan Blackwood stood frozen in the doorway of St. Mary's home for boys, the air thick with the scent of mildew and forgotten dreams, his heart slamming against his ribs as if it might shatter them. There, across the scarred wooden table in the common room, sat Joe Harlan, older now, broader, but with those same storm-gray eyes that had once branded him a traitor, and Jordan knew, in that gut-wrenching instant, that coming back was the biggest mistake of his life. Or maybe, just maybe, the salvation he'd been running from all along. Jordan's boots echoed like gunshots on the linoleum floor as he crossed the threshold, the door creaking shut behind him with a finality that made the other boys in the room, scrawny kids with hollow cheeks and wary stares, flinch and scatter like roaches. It was 1998, and St. Mary's squatted on the outskirts of Elmwood, Kansas, a forgotten speck on the amber waves of grain where the Bible Belt buckled tightest. The orphanage wasn't much more than a converted barn, its walls papered with yellowed Bible verses and faded posters urging, "Pray for family." Jordan had prayed once, on his knees in the chapel corner, begging God to make the feelings in his chest, the ones that bloomed hot and confusing whenever Joe Harlan slung an arm around his shoulders during pickup football, go away. But God hadn't listened. Neither had Joe. Not back then. Anyway. Jordan was 18 when it happened, the summer his world cracked open like a dropped mason jar. He'd been at St. Mary's since he was 12, dropped off by a mother too strung out on crack to remember his name, his father nothing but a ghost story whispered in the dark. The place was a pressure cooker of testosterone and repression. 80 boys crammed into bunk beds, fighting over the last slice of Wonder Bread, their dreams as threadbare as their hand-me-down jeans. Jordan was the quiet one, the kid with the quick laugh and quicker fists when cornered, his skin the color of midnight coffee. His hair cropped close to hide the curls that made the white counselors call him uppity. He kept his head down, aced his classes, dreamed of escaping to the city lights of Chicago or New York, where maybe a boy like him could breathe without choking on shame. Joe Harlan was the opposite, a wildfire in human form, 17 and built like a farmhand's revenge, with freckles across his nose that made him look boyish even when he was snarling. Abandoned by a trailer trash mom who'd run off with a trucker, Joe ruled the orphanage like a benevolent kingpin, sharing smokes behind the boiler room, slipping extra pudding to the littles, and yet, picking on the weaklings just enough to keep his throne. But with Jordan, it was different. They were thick as thieves. Or so Jordan told himself during those long nights when Joe's breath warmed his neck in the top bunk. "You're my brother, Jay." Joe would slur after lights out, his hand lingering too long on Jordan's arm. "Ain't nobody gonna touch you but me." Jordan believed him. God, how he believed him. It started innocent enough. Wrestling matches in the yard that left them breathless and bruised, Joe's laughter booming as he pinned Jordan down, their sweat-slick skin sliding in ways that made Jordan's stomach twist. Then came the touches, the brush of fingers under the dinner table, the way Joe's knee pressed against his during chapel, eyes locked on the preacher like they were sharing a secret sin. Jordan didn't have the words for it then, but he felt it in his bones. This was love, raw and unspoken, blooming in the cracks of their broken lives. He wrote it in his journal, hidden under the mattress. Joe's eyes are storms I want to drown in. What does that make me? He found out on the night of the Harvest Festival, the one annual event when Elmwood's good Christians deigned to remember the orphans existed. The gym was strung with hay bales and jack-o'-lanterns. country bands twanging Johnny Cash covers while punch spiked with communion wine flowed. Jordan and Joe had snuck off to the storage closet, hearts pounding, the air humming with possibility. Joe's lips crashed into his like a freight train, rough, desperate, tasting of apple cider and fear. Jordan melted into it, hands fisting Joe's shirt, the world narrowing to the heat between them. "I been waitin'," Joe gasped, forehead pressed to Jordan's. "Thought I was going crazy, Jay. But it's you. It's always been you." They didn't hear the door creak. Didn't see Tommy Wilkes, the sniveling 12-year-old with a grudge against Joe for swiping his comic books, peeking through the slats. By morning, the whispers had turned to shouts. "Faggots!" Tommy screeched in the breakfast line, pointing at Jordan like he was Judas with a rainbow flag. The dining hall erupted, trays clattering, boys howling slurs that Jordan had only heard in hushed warnings from the older kids. "Sodom and Gomorrah in our house," Preacher Ellis thundered from the head table, his face purple as he slammed his Bible down. "We'll have no abominations here." Joe didn't meet Jordan's eyes. He sat there, knuckles white around his fork, as the mob closed in. Jordan braced for the fight, for Joe to stand with him like brothers, like lovers. Instead, Joe shoved back his chair, voice cracking like dry lightning. "It ain't true. Tommy's lyin'. Jordan's the one. He's the queer. I caught him staring at me in the showers, touching himself. Sick fuck tried to grab me last night." The room went dead silent, then exploded anew. Jordan's vision tunneled, the betrayal a knife twisting slow in his gut. Joe's eyes, those storm-gray eyes, flickered with something like apology, but it drowned in the tide of his panic. "I ain't like that," Joe muttered to the floor, even as the boys dragged Jordan toward the door. "Swear to God, I ain't." They beat him in the yard that afternoon, fists and boots raining down until his ribs cracked and his blood soaked the Kansas dirt. Preacher Ellis watched from the porch, muttering about cleansing fire, while the social worker, a pinched-faced woman from Topeka, packed Jordan's meager belongings into a trash bag. "No place for your kind here," she said, not unkindly, but with the finality of a locked gate. "There's a group home in Wichita for troubled youth." Joe never came. Not to the infirmary, not to say goodbye. Jordan left St. Mary's with a split lip and a heart in shreds, vowing to burn the place from his memory like yesterday's trash. But memories don't burn easy. They smolder. Jordan hit the road that very night, hitching to Wichita with a busted lip and $50 swiped from the chapel poor box. The group home was a step up from hell, more like purgatory with fluorescent lights and mandatory therapy sessions where shrinks in ill-fitting suits probed his deviant tendencies like they were dissecting a frog. Reparative therapy, they called it, forcing him to watch straight porn while hooked to a lie detector, zapping his fingers with shocks every time his pulse spiked at the wrong moments. Jordan endured it for 6 months, teeth gritted, until he turned 18 and aged out. By then, the fire in him had banked low, but it never went out. Chicago was his promised land, or close enough. He arrived in the Windy City with nothing but a duffel and a chip on his shoulder the size of Lake Michigan. Bussing tables at a dive bar in Boys Town, the gay mecca where rainbows flew unapologetically, Jordan learned the lay of the land. Leather bars pulsing with bass, drag queens lip-syncing Madonna under disco balls, men holding hands without a second glance. It was terrifying and intoxicating, like stepping out of a black-and-white movie into Technicolor. He got his GED, then clawed his way through community college on night shifts and scholarships for disadvantaged youth. By 22, he had a business degree from DePaul, a closet full of Brooks Brothers suits, and a corner office at Harlan and Blackwood Consulting. Wait, no, that was later. First, it was just Blackwood Strategies, a one-man operation helping nonprofits navigate grants in the AIDS-ravaged 90s. He changed his name, too. Dropped the Harlan his mama had saddled him with, some nod to a daddy he never knew, and became Jordan Blackwood, sleek and untraceable. Dates came and went, a parade of beautiful men who mistook his walls for mystery. There was Marcus, the activist with dreads down to his waist, who marched with ACT up and fucked like he was protesting. Then Tyler, the preppy lawyer who whispered, "I love you," after 3 weeks and bolted when Jordan admitted he didn't know how to say it back. Jordan built a life solid, successful, safe, but at night, in the king bed of his Lakeview condo, ghosts visited. Joe's face, twisted in denial, the crack of ribs under boots, and always that lingering what if he'd fought, what if we'd run. He tried to outrun it with work. By 2005, Blackwood Strategies had ballooned into a firm with offices in 3 states, specializing in foster care reform. Jordan became the darling of Chicago's liberal elite, testifying before city council, rubbing elbows with aldermen at fundraisers. His photo splashed in the Tribune as the orphan who rose. He poured millions into advocacy, lobbying for anti-discrimination laws, funding safe houses for queer youth kicked out by bigoted families. "I've seen the abyss," he'd say in keynote speeches, voice steady as steel, "and it doesn't have to claim another soul." But the abyss whispered back. It started with a documentary in 2010, Forgotten Sons, a gritty PBS special on Midwest orphanages. Jordan watched from his leather armchair, glass of scotch trembling in his hand, as St. Mary's flickered across the screen, same sagging porch, same Bible verses peeling like old skin. And there, in grainy footage of a charity auction, was Joe Harlan. Older, weathered, but unmistakable, auctioning off a quilt made by the boys, his smile forced, eyes hollow as a gutted fish. The narrator's voiceover hit like a sucker punch. At St. Mary's, staff turnover is high and funding low. Caretakers like Joe Harlan, a lifelong resident turned volunteer, hold it together with duct tape and prayer. Volunteer. Joe, the betrayer, playing saint. Jordan slammed the remote down, shards of glass from the shattered tumbler slicing his palm. Blood welled, hot and accusing. He bandaged it in the bathroom mirror, staring at the man he'd become, 30, lean-muscled from gym sessions that bordered on masochism. Jaw shadowed with stubble, eyes like polished obsidian. He's still there, the reflection seemed to say. Go finish it. He didn't. Not then. Instead, he channeled the rage into a new initiative, the Blackwood Adoption Fund, seeding grants for LGBTQ+ families to adopt from the system. It was his middle finger to the past, a way to rewrite the script. Adoption soared, queer couples claiming kids who'd otherwise age out into the streets. Jordan mentored them, walked them through home studies, even stood as uncle at first birthdays. Filled the hollows, somewhat. Made him believe in redemption, even if he couldn't claim his own. Then came 2015, the year the Supreme Court greenlit gay marriage, and Jordan's firm exploded with pro bono work. He was at a gala in D.C. black tie, champagne flutes clinking like wind chimes, when a donor cornered him. Elena Vasquez, a silver-haired powerhouse from Child Welfare Services. "Your fund's a godsend, Jordan," she said, air-kissing his cheeks. "Saved a dozen kids last quarter alone. But there's this one case. Boy in Kansas, 17, tough nut. Been bounced around since he was 10. History of aggression, they say. No one's biting." Jordan sipped his bubbly, the fizz burning his throat. Aggression's code for scared shitless. What's his story? Elena's eyes softened. Name's Joe Harlan Jr. Dad's a ghost, works odd jobs at the old St. Mary's orphanage, but he's got his own demons. Kid's got that Harlan fire. Smart as a whip, but lashes out. Punched a foster dad last placement. Social worker thinks he's acting out, 'cause he misses his old man. The name hit like vertigo. Joe Harlan Jr. Jordan's flute slipped, shattering on the marble floor. St. Mary's? Elmwood. She nodded, oblivious. Yeah. Place is on its last legs, half the building's condemned. But the boy's got potential. You ever consider adopting? You're single, stable. And honey, with your profile, you'd be a poster child for reform. He laughed it off that night, but the seed took root. Sleepless flights back to O'Hare. He Googled Joe Harlan, Elmwood, KS. Grainy Facebook pics. A lanky teen with his father's jawline, scowling in a Letterman jacket. Bio reading hate the game, not the player. Then deeper dives. Arrest records for the dad misdemeanor assaults. Bar fights. A DUI in '08. The pieces clicked. Joe Sr. clinging to St. Mary's like a barnacle, too broken to keep his son. Junior, spiraling in the same toxic soup Jordan had escaped. He humiliated you, the rational part of his brain snarled. Let karma collect. But the heart, the traitorous, aching heart, whispered different. What if this was the loop closing? What if adopting the son was the only way to confront the father? To drag the truth into the light, not for revenge, but for release? By dawn, Jordan was on the phone with Elena, paperwork in motion. Home study? Flawless. Background check? Immaculate. The judge in Topeka, a grizzled ex-Marine with a soft spot for upstanding colored folk, signed off in record time. Son, he drawled, peering over bifocals. You sure about this? Boy's a handful. Jordan met his gaze, unflinching. I was too, once. Handled it just fine. 2 weeks later, he was wheels down in Wichita, rental Impala cutting through the flatlands like a knife through butter. The closer he got to Elmwood, the tighter his chest wound, memories uncoiling like smoke. Billboards for Jesus Saves flanked the highway, cornfields whispering secrets to the wind. St. Mary's loomed at the town's edge, silos rusting against a bruised sky, the sign out front crooked, home for boys, by God's grace. Jordan parked, killed the engine, and sat there, pulse thundering. This was insane. Reckless. But as he stepped out, the rain starting its spiteful patter, he felt it, the pull of unfinished business, magnetic and merciless. Inside, the common room was a time capsule of despair. Threadbare couches, a TV flickering Judge Judy reruns to an audience of ghosts. Boys milled about, skittish, until they clocked him, tall, tailored, black in a sea of white poverty, and the room hushed. Then, From the office doorway emerged Joe Harlan, 42 going on 60, paunch straining his flannel shirt, hair thinning to wisps, but those eyes, God, those eyes still capable of storms. Jordan, Joe's voice cracked, a whisper swallowed by the rain. He staggered forward, hand outstretched like a lifeline. Holy shit. Jay. Is it really you? Jordan's fists clenched at his sides, the adoption papers burning a hole in his jacket pocket. Yeah, he said, voice low thunder. It's me. And I'm here for your boy. Joe's hand froze midair, the common room's silence stretching taut as a noose. Rain lashed the windows in sheets now, blurring the world outside into a watercolor smear of gray. The boys edged closer, sensing drama thicker than the chili they'd had for lunch, while Jordan held Joe's gaze, unblinking, the years between them a chasm bridged by nothing but ghosts. My boy, Joe echoed, as if the words were foreign, his face paling to the color of spoiled milk. He dropped his hand, shoving it into his pocket, fingers likely toying with keys or a crumpled pack of Marlboros, the same nervous tick from their bunk bed confessions. Joey? You mean? You're adopting him? Jordan's laugh was a bark, sharp and joyless. Don't play dumb, Harlan. Elena Vasquez called it in. I'm the approved guardian. Papers are signed. Judge stamped them this morning. Kid's mine unless you got a miracle up your sleeve. The hours hung unspoken, a specter from another life. Joe's mouth worked like a fish on dry dock, eyes darting to the boys, then back to Jordan, pleading, calculating. Jay, wait. This ain't. You can't just swoop in after all this time and, after all this time? Jordan stepped closer, voice dropping to a hiss that cut through the TV static. 15 years, Joe. 15 years since you sold me out to save your own sorry ass. And now here I am, bailing out the mess you made of your own blood. Funny how the wheel turns. Ha! A collective gasp rippled through the room. One kid, a freckled tween with braces, whispered drama to his buddy. Joe flushed crimson, glancing at the door as if Preacher Ellis might rise from the grave to smite him. The old man had croaked in '02, liver pickled from bootleg bourbon, but his shadow lingered in every creak of the floorboards. Not here, Joe muttered, grabbing Jordan's elbow, too familiar, too rough, and steering him toward the office. Kitchen. Now. Jordan yanked free but followed. The scent of Joe's cheap aftershave, Irish Spring and regret, stirring sediments he'd long buried. The kitchen was a war zone of formica counters and grease-splattered stove, pots simmering split-pea soup for dinner. Joe slammed the door, leaning against it like it might bolt him in place. Okay. Talk. What's this really about? You fly all the way from Chicago to rub my nose in it? Show me what a big shot you are now. Jordan tossed the adoption folder onto the table, papers fanning like a bad hand in poker. It's about the kid. Joey. Saw the docu. Read the files. He's U 2.0 trouble with a capital T. Lashing out, 'cause daddy's too busy playing house with strays to raise him right. Elena says he's got 1 foot in juvie. I say he deserves better. So yeah, I'm taking him. Giving him what you never could. Joe's laugh was bitter, a cough that rattled his chest. He sank into a chair, rubbing his face with hands calloused from fixing leaky roofs and mending fences, literal and otherwise. What I never could, he echoed, voice thick. Jesus, Jay. You think I don't know? After you left. shit got bad. They shipped me to a farm program in Salina, work in silos till my hands bled. Thought about you every damn night. Wrote letters I never sent. Jordan's pulse stuttered, but he armored it with scorn. Letters? That's your Hail Mary? Spare me the violins, Joe. You called me a predator in front of God and everybody. Got me beat half to death. I could have died out there in that yard. Joe's head snapped up, eyes glistening like wet slate. I know. Christ, I know. I was a kid, scared shitless. Preacher Ellis had me cornered after. Said they'd send me to one of them conversion camps if I didn't name names. Tommy was Yap Pin, and I panicked. Thought if I threw you under, they'd believe it was just you. One bad apple. But I never meant. He broke off, scrubbing at his eyes. I looked for you, Jay. After I aged out. Tracked you to Wichita, even drove there once. But you were gone. Chicago, they said. Makin' something of yourself. Figured you were better off without my poison. The confession hung heavy, laced with the truth Jordan had half suspected in his weakest moments. Fear, not hate. But half-truths don't mend full breaks. Better off, Jordan sneered, pacing the linoleum like a caged panther. You have no idea what you cost me. Trust, gone. Love, buried so deep I forgot where I left the shovel. I built this life firm. House. Suits that cost more than this whole dump, and every brick's mortared with that night. And now your son's paying the price for it. Joe stood, slow as rising dough, closing the distance until they were inches apart. Close enough Jordan could see the crow's feet etching Joe's temples, the faint scar above his lip from a bar brawl or a boy's clumsy kiss. Then take him, Joe said, voice raw as sandpaper. Please. Joey. He's me. All right. Angry. Mouthy. Hits first and asks later. Lost his mom to cancer when he was 5. My high school sweetheart. Thought she'd fix me. Didn't. Now he's actin' out. Stealin' smokes. Fightin' at school. Social services yanked him last month after he decked a teacher who called him trash like his daddy. If you don't take him, it's reform school or worse. Jordan searched those eyes, hunting for the lie, the manipulation. But all he found was surrender. A man hollowed out by his own cowardice, clinging to redemption's frayed hem. Why should I? He whispered, the fight leaching from his tone. What's in it for you, Joe? Absolution? A clean slate so you can sleep without the devil knockin'? Joe's hand twitched, as if to touch him, then fell away. Nothing for me. Everything for him. And maybe a chance to say I'm sorry. For real this time. Not in letters, not in dreams. Face to face. The door banged open then, shattering the moment. A social worker, mid-40s, clipboard clutched like a shield, barreled in, trailed by a sullen teen who could only be Joey Harlan. The boy was a carbon copy of his father at 17, tall and rangy, brown hair flopping over one eye, jeans slung low on hips marked by a belt buckle shaped like a bucking bronco. But where Joe's fire had been charismatic, Joey's was feral, shoulders hunched, fists balled, a scowl that dared the world to swing first. Mr. Blackwood? The worker chirped, oblivious to the tension. Perfect timing. This is Joseph Harlan Jr. Joey. Meet your new guardian. Joey froze, eyes narrowing on Jordan, taking in the suit, the city polish, the black skin that stood out like ink on newsprint in this lily-white town. Guardian? What the fuck is this? Dad? You pimpin' me out to some yuppie now? Joe winced, stepping forward. Language, son. Mr. Blackwood's here to save me, Joey spat, voice cracking on the edge of manhood. I don't need Savon. Especially not from. He jabbed a finger at Jordan. Who the hell even are you? Some do-gooder from the big city comin' to fix the white trash. Jordan held his ground, seeing echoes of his own rage in the boy's glare. Name's Jordan. And yeah, kid, I'm here to get you out of this shithole. But it ain't charity. You pull your weight, or you're back on the bus to juvie. Deal? Joey's laugh was a mirror of his father's, sharp, defensive. Deal? Fuck you. I ain't leavin', Dad. The room teetered on a knife's edge, rain drumming a war beat outside. Joe laid a hand on Joey's shoulder, gentle but firm. You gotta go, boy. For you. I'll visit. Promise. Joey shrugged him off, eyes brimming but defiant. Yeah? Like you visited Mom in the hospital? Or when the cops dragged me from that foster dump? He turned to Jordan, jaw set. Fine. But if you hurt him, city boy, if you use this to fuck over my old man, I'll burn your fancy life to the ground. Jordan nodded, the pact sealed in venom and necessity. As the worker herded them toward the door, paperwork signed, duffel packed with Joey's life in a garbage bag, Jordan glanced back at Joe. Their eyes locked, a lifetime flashing in the space between. Stolen kisses, shattered trust, the fragile thread of what might have been. Take care of him, Joe mouthed, voice lost to the storm. Jordan's throat tightened. I will. And Joe, we're not done. The Impala peeled out, Joey brooding shotgun, radio blasting Garth Brooks to drown the silence. Kansas flattened into interstate blur, Chicago's skyline a distant promise. Jordan gripped the wheel, heart a war drum. He'd come for closure, but as the miles unspooled, he realized the story wasn't ending, it was just beginning. Betrayal's echo lingered, but so did something softer, hope, tentative as a first rain after drought. Little did he know, the real storm was brewing back home, where secrets had a way of resurfacing like bones in a flood. Chicago swallowed them whole that first week. A concrete jungle of honking taxis and neon pulse that made Joey Harlan curl into himself like a pill bug under a boot. Jordan's Lakeview condo, 18th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the lake like a painting, felt less like home and more like a museum to the kid. Sleek leather furniture, abstract art from a Wicker Park gallery, a kitchen stocked with quinoa and kale that Joey eyed like alien artifacts. What is this shit? He'd grunt, shoving the blender aside for frosted flakes straight from the box. Jordan bit his tongue, remembering his own culture shock the first time he'd ordered escargot at a client dinner, choking it down to prove he belonged. Integration was a battlefield. Joey enrolled at Lincoln Park High, a magnet school where Jordan's donations bought him a spot in the theater program, hoping stage lights might channel the boy's fury into something creative. But the first parent-teacher night painted a grim picture. Disruptive, the drama coach said, sipping Chardonnay from a plastic cup. Talented. Sure, Hamlet's soliloquy brought tears, but he mouthed off to the director. Called him a sellout Uncle Tom for casting a white kid as Othello. Jordan's jaw clenched, the slur landing like a slap. He say why? The coach shrugged. Something about not letting the man rewrite our pain. Kids got layers, Mr. Blackwood. Hurt ones. Nights were worse. Joey barricaded in the guest room, formerly Jordan's home office, now kit with a twin bed and posters of Nirvana and Tupac, blasting Eminem until the walls vibrated. Jordan knocked once, twice, offering takeout lo mein or a talk. "Fuck off," came the muffled roar, followed by the crash of something shattering. Glass, probably the vase Jordan had bought in Soho. He swept it up at dawn, shards glinting like accusations. Joe Sr. called every Sunday, their voices tinny through the speakerphone. "How's my boy holding up?" he'd ask. Background noise of clanging pots and boys' shouts painting St. Mary's in absentia. Joey would snatch the phone, huddling on the balcony with its view of sailboats bobbing like toys. "This place is a zoo, Dad. Guy's got a doorman who smiles like he's selling used cars. And the food? Rabbit pellets. Laughter, forced but real, bridged the miles." Jordan listened from the kitchen, nursing coffee, the domesticity twisting something deep in his chest. Envy? Longing? He pushed it down, focusing on the boy. This is about Joey. Not him. But Joe Sr. had a way of seeping in. Emails started, innocuous at first. Updates on Elmwood's weather, tornado watch last night, thought of you dodging hail as kids. Then photos of St. Mary's renovations, Jordan's old bunk bed now a counselor's office. Missed those days. One caption read, "The good ones." Jordan deleted them unread, but they lingered, pixels burning retinas. The thaw came slow, seismic. It was mid-October, leaves carpeting the magnificent mile in crimson and gold, when Joey stumbled into the kitchen at midnight, eyes red-rimmed, hoodie zipped to his chin. Jordan was up late, spreadsheets glowing on his laptop, the city skyline a constellation of ambition. "Can't sleep," Joey muttered, raiding the fridge for milk. He poured a bowl of Captain Crunch, Jordan's concession to normalcy, and slid into the stool opposite, spoon clinking like Morse code. "Bad dream," Jordan ventured, closing the MacBook. Neutral ground. Joey shrugged, flakes sogging. "Nah. Just Dad called. Said the orphanage's closin'. Funding cut, state's buildin' a new one in Topeka. He's out of a job." Again. Jordan nodded. The news a dull thud. St. Mary's demise felt poetic, a grave for their shared sins. He'll land on his feet. Always does. "You know him?" Joey's spoon paused, eyes sharpening. "Like, from before?" The question hung, a tripwire. Jordan weighed the truth. Knew Joe Sr. had glossed over his history, painting Jordan as an old family friend from the orphanage days. Lies by omission, but Jordan had his own. "Yeah," he said finally, voice even. "We were close. Back when I was there. He looked out for me." Joey's brow furrowed, milk dribbling down his chin. "Close how? Like bros? Or, Jordan confirmed, the word a stone dropped in still water. Ripples spread, Joey's eyes widening, then narrowing in calculation. "Your dad's a complicated man, kid. Saved me more times than I can count. But he made mistakes. Big ones. Hurt people he cared about. Like you," Joey pressed, blunt as a hammer. "No kid gloves in this house." Jordan met his gaze, the boy's frankness a mirror to his own at that age. "Yeah. Like me. But that's water under the bridge. Ancient history. What matters is now you, here, making it work. Joey chewed that over, crunching cereal like it was gristle. He talks about you sometimes. Says you're the reason he got his shit together. Volunteered at St. Mary's 'cause of stories you told him about changing the system. Said you were the bravest guy he ever knew. Jordan's throat closed. Joe's ghost words a bomb and a barb. Brave? He'd run. Built walls higher than the Willis Tower. Your dad's got a selective memory, he managed. But thanks. Means a lot. From there, cracks widened into doors. Joey started joining him for runs along the lakefront, pounding pavement at dawn, breath fogging in the crisp air. Why Chicago? He'd pant, sneakers slapping the path. Why not LA? Or something. Windy City's got grit, Jordan replied, dodging joggers in neon. Reminds me where I came from. Plus, deep dish pizza. Can't fake that. Laughter bubbled, rare, genuine, easing the knot in Jordan's chest. School reports improved. A lead in the fall play, a raisin in the sun, where Joey channeled Walter Lee with a ferocity that packed the auditorium. Standing ovation, Jordan in the front row, clapping till his palms stung, pride swelling like yeast in dough. After, over burgers at Gold Coast Dogs, Joey grinned, first real one Jordan had seen. Teacher said I nailed it. Called me a natural. You are, Jordan said, ketchup packet bursting under his thumb. Got it from your old man. He had this way of commanding a room, made you believe in him, even when you shouldn't. Joey's burger paused halfway. You loved him, didn't you? The question blindsided, direct as a sucker punch. Jordan wiped his mouth, napkin crumpling. Yeah. I did. Thought he felt the same. Turns out, love's a hell of a lot more complicated than that. Joey nodded, wise beyond his scars. Tell me about it sometime. The whole story. Someday, Jordan thought. When the time's right. Thanksgiving brought Joe Sr. north. Amtrak ticket a gift from Jordan's guilt fund. The condo smelled of turkey and cornbread, Jordan's mama's recipe. Pieced from memory, Joey basting the bird in an apron that dwarfed him. When the door buzzed, father and son collided in a bear hug. Joey's missed you, Dad muffled in flannel. Jordan hung back, wine bottle in hand, the trio a tableau of fractured family. Dinner was tentative. Small talk about football, Chiefs sucking again. Weather, Chicago wind like a bitch slap. Joey's play, Joe beaming like he'd birthed Shakespeare. But undercurrents swirled. Joe's eyes on Jordan too long. Joey's glances darting between them like he was piecing a puzzle. After pie, as Joey cleared plates, Joe cornered Jordan at the sink. Place looks good on you, Jay. Success suits you. Jordan rinsed a fork. Suds bubbling. It's not about the suits. It's about the work. Helping kids like him. Like us. Joe nodded. Hip against the counter. Close enough their arms brushed. A spark. Electric and unwise. I read about it. Your fund. Adoption's up 40%. That's something to... Damn right. Jordan dried his hands, turning to face him. But don't saint me, Joe. I'm doing this for me as much as them. Closure. Joe's face crumpled, vulnerability cracking his facade. I get it. And Jay, about that night. I dream it still. You on the ground. Blood. My words hanging in the air like smoke. I'd give anything to take it back. The apology landed soft this time. No defenses left. Jordan's hand twitched to slap, to soothe, but Joey's entrance shattered it. Movie time? The boy asked, oblivious. They piled on the couch, The Shawshank Redemption. Joey's pick, Jordan in the armchair. Joe and son bookending the cushions. Laughter at Andy Dufresne's pipe dream. Tears at the ocean reunion. As credits rolled, Joey dozed on Joe's shoulder, the paternal tableau twisting Jordan's gut. This is what I missed, he thought. This messy, beautiful thing. Joe carried Joey to bed, returning with 2 beers from the fridge. They sat on the balcony, city lights winking below, wind whispering off the lake. He's happy here, Joe said, twisting the cap. Thanks to you. Jordan clinked bottles, the chill biting. He's tough. Like his dad. Silence stretched, companionable now, laced with what-ifs. Then Joe, I never stopped, loving you. Buried it deep, but it rotted me from the inside. That's why I stayed at St. Mary's, punishment, maybe. Trying to make good on the man I failed to be. Jordan's breath caught, the admission a key turning in a long-rusted lock. Joe. Headlights pierced the dark then, tires on wet pavement below. A black SUV idled curbside, wipers slashing rain. Joe tensed, beer forgotten. That's Carla's ride. Carla, social worker. We been seeing each other. On and off. She's pushing for custody back. Says I'm stable now. With the new job at the feed store. Jealousy flared. Hot and irrational Carla. With her clipboard and common sense. Claiming what Jordan had just begun to reclaim. But beneath it, fear, Joe leaving, the fragile bridge collapsing. Go, Jordan said, voice steady. If it's right for Joey, Joe searched his face. Storms brewing. What if it's not? What if I stay? For more, the question dangled. Precipice. Jordan stood, the wind tousling his hair. That's a conversation for daylight. Get some sleep. Joe left at dawn. Hug lingering on the doorstep. Joey's goodbye tear-streaked. As the elevator dinged, Jordan felt the shift. Not closure, but opening. Love, was a Kansas twister, fierce, unpredictable, leaving nothing untouched. But twisters have undercurrents, and betrayal's echo was about to howl. Winter clamped Chicago in its iron fist that December, snowdrifts piling like unpaid debts against the condo windows. Joey thrived in the cold, bundling into a North Face parka Jordan bought at Macy's, lacing skates for pickup games on the frozen lagoon, his laughter echoing off the John Hancock like church bells. School was a conquest now, straight A's in English, a callback for the spring musical, even a tentative crush on a classmate named Alex. He's bi, I think. Joey confided over hot cocoa, cheeks flushed from more than frostbite. Cool if I? Jordan ruffled his hair, pried a warm coal in his chest. As long as he treats you right, kid. And hey, use protection. World's full of surprises. Joey rolled his eyes, but the grin lingered. Fatherhood, Jordan mused, poring over case files in his home office. Wasn't blood or biology, it was showing up, day after gritty day. His firm buzzed with holiday galas, clients toasting his miracle adoption, over eggnog. But Jordan's thoughts drifted east, to Elmwood's flatlands, where Joe Sr.'s texts pinged like Morse, feed store steady. Carla's backing off, says Joey's better with you. Then, softer, miss our talks. You? Jordan typed back platitudes, he's killing it. Break a leg at the holiday fair. But deleted the truth. Miss you too, you bastard. Every damn day. The flirtation simmered, unspoken, pot left too long on the burner. Christmas Eve brought the blow. Jordan was strings of lights and a tree hauled from Home Depot. Joey decorating with the fervor of a kid starved for magic, tinsel-draped guitar from Guitar Center, a leather jacket that made him look like a young Brando. They were midway through It's a Wonderful Life, Jimmy Stewart's despair mirroring Jordan's old ghosts, when the buzzer shattered the glow. Delivery, the doorman crackled. Jordan signed for the envelope, thick and official, postmarked Topeka. Inside, court summons, typed in legalese black as midnight. In custody of Joseph Harlan Jr. Petition for modification by Elena Vasquez, on behalf of Joseph Harlan Sr. Grounds, changed circumstances, paternal bond paramount, adoptive guardian's history of instability. Instability? Jordan's blood ran Arctic. He flipped pages, pulse roaring, affidavits from St. Mary's alums, dredging the '98 scandal. Jordan Blackwood, expelled for inappropriate conduct with minor resident Joseph Harlan. Tommy Wilkes' deposition, yellowed but venomous, saw him kissin'. Harlan denied it, said Blackwood forced him. And there, at the bottom, Joe's signature, authorizing the petition. Betrayal. Round 2. Sharper, because this time it wore the face of forgiveness. Joey found him on the balcony, summons crumpled in fist, snowflakes melting on his lashes. What's up? You look like you swallowed a lemon. Jordan handed it over. Words ash. Your dad's fighting for you. Wants you back. Joey's face lit, then fell as he scanned. This is bullshit. He wouldn't, he promised. The boy bolted inside, phone in hand, dialing with trembling fingers. Jordan followed, eavesdropping from the hall. Dad? What the fuck? Man, you sign this crap. Pause. Joe's voice tinny. Son, listen, it's for the best. Carla's got connections. We can be a family again. Joey's shout. Family? You ditched me for that orphanage shitshow. Jordan's here. Every day, you're the unstable one. Slam. Phone hurled, shattering against the wall. Jordan entered, tentative. Hey. It's okay. No. It's not. Joey whirled, tears carving tracks. He used you. Again. That history, that's you and him, right? Back then. Jordan sank onto the couch, the tree lights mocking him with cheer. Yeah. It's us. The floodgates opened then, Jordan spilling the story in fits and starts. The closet kiss, the mob, Joe's denial like a blade to the throat. Joey listened, cross-legged on the rug, piecing it with the intuition of youth. So you came back for me. To get at him? Revenge. At first, Jordan admitted, voice raw. Thought it'd closed the book. But you're not him. You're better. And somewhere along, it became about giving you what I never had. Joey wiped his nose on his sleeve, nodding. I don't want to go back. Chicago's home. You're dad now. The good kind. The words pierced. Healing fissures Jordan didn't know bled. They hugged then. Awkward, fierce, sealing a pact amid the pine scent and twinkling bulbs. New Year's dawned with lawyers. Jordan's firm mobilized. Briefs filed. Depositions scheduled. Elena Vasquez deposed in a conference room smelling of stale coffee. "It's not personal," she insisted. Clipboard a shield. "Joe's petition cites your past." "My past is public record," Jordan countered, suit crisp as his resolve. "Overcame it. Built an empire on it." What's his excuse? Bar fights? A string of dead-end jobs? She faltered. "He's clean now. A steady gig. Says he wants to make amends." "Amends don't erase forgery," Jordan's counsel snapped, a shark in pinstripes. "That '98 affidavit? Coerced. And signing off on lies about his own kid's guardian? Desperate." The hearing loomed in February. Topeka Courthouse, a squat brick fortress under leaden skies. Jordan flew commercial. Joey in tow, his first plane ride. Nose pressed to the window over cornfields. "Looks like a quilt from up here," the boy marveled, nerves masked in wonder. Joe waited in the hall. Carla absent. Rumor had it she'd bailed when the dirt surfaced. He looked wrecked. Unshaven, coat threadbare, eyes pleading as they brushed past. Joey. I did this wrong. Let me explain." "Save it for the judge," Joey snarled, but his hand squeezed Jordan's, anchor in the storm. Inside, the courtroom was a pressure cooker. Wood-paneled walls, Kansas flags drooping like weary sentinels. Judge Harlan, irony's cruel joke, no relation, presided, a widow with a buzzcut and no patience for theatrics. Witnesses paraded. Joey's teachers lauding his turnaround, Jordan's colleagues vouching stability, a therapist testifying to the boy's secure attachment to his guardian. Then Joe sworn in, voice quavering as he clutched the Bible. "I love my son. Always have. But I fucked up. Pushed this 'cause I was scared of losing him. Thought blood meant more. But seeing him with Jordan, that's family. Real. I ain't fit, Your Honor." "Not yet." Gasps rippled. Joey's hand went slack in Jordan's. The judge peered over glasses. "Mr. Harlan, this petition, based on falsehoods." Joe nodded, tears carving canyons. "Yes'm. Jordan's past? My shame. Not his. I lied to protect myself once. Won't again. Withdraw it. Let him keep Joey." The gavel cracked like thunder. Case dismissed. Custody affirmed. Chaos. Joey launching across the bar to hug his father. Sobs muffled in flannel. Jordan hanging back. The victory bittersweet. Outside, snow swirling like confetti, Joe pulled him aside. "I signed that shit thinkin' it'd force a meetin'. Talk things out. Carla fed me the affidavits, said it'd pressure you. But seeing you fight, couldn't. You're the dad he needs. The man I wish I'd been." Jordan's chest heaved. Rage and relief warring. "You almost broke us. Again. But thank you for letting go." Joe's hand found his, brief, electric. "Not letting go of everything. If you'll have me. Friends? More?" The question trembled. A bridge over the abyss. Jordan glanced at Joey, laughing with the bailiff, then back, seeing not the boy who'd betrayed him, but the man who'd owned it. "Friends," he said. "Start there. Earn the rest." Spring bloomed tentative. Cherry blossoms along the lake. Joey acing finals. Joe visiting monthly, awkward barbecues on the balcony, grilling brats and swapping stories sans the poison. Romance crept in sideways. A shared beer after Joey's bedtime, knees brushing. A late-night call when Joe confessed AA meetings dredged the 98 guilt. Therapy now, he said. Unpackin' the why. Turns out, I was terrified. Of lovin' a black man in that town. Of what it meant. But fear's a liar. Jay. Jordan listened, thawing. Took me years to believe that. By summer, the label shifted, partners, whispered over takeout foe in Uptown. Joey rolled his eyes at the PDA. Gross. Dads. But beamed underneath. The trio a mosaic mended with gold. St. Mary's raised lot sprouted a community center. Jordan's fund the seed money. Plaque reading for the boys who dreamed big. Joe cut the ribbon. Jordan and Joey flanking. Cameras flashing. Redemption's echo, the Tribune headline quipped. Jordan believed it now. Love wasn't a straight line, twisty, scarred, but resilient. In America's heartland heart, they'd forged something human, flawed, fierce, forever. As dusk painted the sky lavender, Joe slipped an arm around Jordan's waist. Joey snapping pics. Worth the wait, Joe murmured. Jordan leaned in, lips brushing ear. Every damn storm,